I hate my birthday for one reason, which is the fact that I know my friend is going to post the most embarrassing picture that could ever possibly be taken of me for the whole internet to see. Like every year when it gets close to my birthday, I get super anxious because I know my friend is gonna post the most horrible picture ever and say, "Happy birthday, Tyler, love you." No, you don't. If you actually loved me, you wouldn't post a picture of me sneezing with a 0.5 lens on. Like, you just ruined my birthday. But the scary thing is that they have a whole folder of pictures like this. Like, it's literally titled, Tyler Embarrassing Pics. What kind of FBI agent stuff is that? I don't even remember them taking half of these pictures, yet they have a whole vault of them. So to anyone that posts embarrassing pictures of their friends on their birthday, please stop. We can't take it anymore. Having siblings is crazy because you will do literally anything for them, but they'll also be your least favorite person on earth at the same time. Like when I was younger, I turned off my older brother's PlayStation mid-game because I wanted him to take me to my friend's house, and he got so mad that he started chasing me around the house. But then my mom saw him doing this and she made him stop. But in that moment, he told me that when I was least expecting it, he was gonna get revenge on me. So for the whole next year, I was living in fear, just waiting for the moment when he was gonna do something. I could barely sleep for a couple months because I thought that was when he was gonna make his move. But he never did make a move, which was almost more scary. But the funny thing is that during this same time period, I peed my pants at school one day, so people started to make fun of me and call me names. And it was pretty funny, to be honest, but I was super embarrassed. And my brother was the only person to stand up for me and tell everyone else to stop making fun of me. I'm not even kidding. It's like your siblings are Batman and Joker at the same time. Nobody talks about the difference between girls' sleepovers and boys' sleepovers because at a boys' sleepover, you cannot fall asleep. Like, it's not safe. Especially if you're the first one to fall asleep, because I remember this one time, I went to a sleepover at my friend's house and he had this fake leg prop for a Halloween costume, but it looked pretty real. So when our first friend fell asleep, we got the fake leg, put it right next to his real leg so it almost looked like his actual leg, and we woke him up very softly, but right as his eyes started to open, my other friend, who had his dad's sledgehammer in his hand, smashed the fake leg, and the guy that was sleeping woke up screaming because he genuinely thought that was his real leg getting smashed. After he realized it wasn't his real leg, he got up, went to the kitchen, got an energy drink and chugged it because he knew he could not fall asleep again that night. But everyone else was terrified after this to fall asleep too, so we all just stayed up the whole night. It was the best and worst night of my life. But at a girl's sleepover, they're like just having fun, right? They're lighting candles, they're gossiping, they're having pillow parties. Why can't our sleepovers be more like that? Oh, you think you want to have a child one day? Well, just know that one time I was sleeping over at my friend's house and he has a little brother named Jimmy. And it was like 2 a.m. so everyone was asleep, but I was super thirsty, so I went to the kitchen to get some water and Jimmy's there. And he comes up to me and says, "I can't sleep because there's a monster under my bed. Can you check it?" And I say, "There's a what?" And he says, "A monster." Dog, I wanted to say, hell no, I ain't checking that because I'm just as terrified as you are, Jimmy. Like, get your parents to do this, bro. I'm scared of monsters too. But I become super brave, so I check under his bed anyway, and I tell him that there's nothing under there, and then I say, "Do you think you can go to sleep now?" And he says, "No, because there's a ghost in my closet." What do you mean there's a ghost in your closet? And why can you even see ghosts? So I draw the line there and I'm like, "Jimmy, there's no ghost in your closet." The only reason I told him that is because I was too scared to check. But then he asked me if I can stay in the room with him and he covers his whole body with his blanket so the ghost can't get to him. I'm thinking, man, give me that blanket. I don't want the ghost to get me either. Like, they don't discriminate. But it made me think, how am I gonna do this when I have my own kid? I can't be this brave all the time. I am not a Ghostbuster. Nobody talks about the difference between how parents treat the oldest child versus the youngest child. Because I'm the youngest one in my family, and my older brother would always tell me stories about how strict our parents were when he was growing up. Like, if my brother tried to have a couple friends over at the house, they would say absolutely not. But while I was growing up, my parents would go on like a 2-day vacation and they leave me at the house alone, and my dad would literally be like, "Why don't you throw a party while we're gone?" And I'd be like, "What? I don't want to do that." And he would be like, "Yeah, do it. All the kids at school will think you're super cool." And then he would say, "Just don't bring over 200 people. Dad, I don't even know 200 people. Now that I think of it, he was probably begging me to do this because he thought that I had no friends. But that's not even the craziest part, because when I was growing up, if I wanted anything, my parents would get it. Like, they bought me a car right when I got my license and I didn't even ask for it. And I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're so privileged." I know, you're right, it's crazy. Because when my older brother got his license, he had to drive a 15-year-old car that had no air conditioning, the windows were broken, and one wheel would occasionally fall off. Did I deserve a new car more than my brother? No, I didn't deserve any of this. It was like my parents hit the lottery right before I started growing up and they just didn't tell anyone. This is why being the youngest child is the best. Why do people give babies such embarrassing names? Like, I think some people forget that these kids are stuck with these names for their whole lives. Because I was at the store the other day and this little kid was trying to climb the shelves and his mom goes, "Danger, get down." You named your kid Danger. On purpose. I mean, I guess it's fitting because he's climbing the cereal aisle like a jungle gym, but still, was this like a punishment for him acting up one day? He just misbehaved and the belt wasn't working, so you were like, "You know what, Steven? your name's Danger now. And to the people that have ridiculous names like this, I am not laughing at you. I'm trying to fight for you. Like, these parents do realize that these kids have to go to school, right? And newsflash, little kids are mean. They will get cooked at school. I walked by a group of little kids the other day, and they literally just told me that my jacket sucked and laughed. I was just wearing a plain black jacket. But you think you can name your kid Flick and nothing will happen? This needs to stop. Why do people who can't wake up to alarms have the most obnoxious ones? Because I almost hit my brother with a frying pan last night because he went to bed 2 hours before me, and this guy cannot wake up to an alarm no matter what. But he had 20 alarms set for 6 a.m. So when 6 a.m. came around, guess who woke up? Not him. He just sleeps through it the whole time. And you know what the worst part is? This is his ringtone. Why would you choose that one? Every time it goes off, I think we're getting a tsunami warning in the middle of the night. And somehow, he sleeps right through it every time. I'm gonna throw his phone out the window next time. Matter of fact, I could throw him out the window. He still wouldn't wake up. The difference between male friendships and female friendships is crazy because one time at school, there was this group of girls that were all best friends, and one of these girls' birthday was coming up. So when that day came, the whole group all posted a bunch of pictures on their stories saying happy birthday, except for one girl. And in fact, this girl didn't even go to school that day. So when she came back the next day, she wasn't hanging out with those girls anymore. And it turns out that the rest of the group stopped being friends with her because she didn't say happy birthday. But you wanna know why she didn't say it? She was camping. She literally didn't have internet access, but I guess that wasn't a good enough excuse because they were not friends after that. This was so crazy to me though, because most of my friends don't even know my birthday. Literally only one of my friends do. And he posts an embarrassing picture of me every time it comes. Honestly, I'm convinced some of my friends don't even know my last name. And I don't blame my friends for not knowing my birthday. I don't know theirs by heart. And I'm not saying that's a good thing either. I respect that girls care so much. What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done in front of your crush? I'll go first. It was the day I got my very first phone, and I was so excited because this meant that I could FaceTime the girl I liked. So that's what I did. I typed in the number that the girl gave me, and I FaceTimed her, and it was awesome until my mom, who didn't know I was on FaceTime, walked into my room and said, "Hey Tyler, is your rash feeling better today?" But that's not even the embarrassing part, because after she said that, I was so embarrassed because the girl heard that, so I was like, "Shut up, mom." But in my house, saying that to your parents is a big no-no. So my mom went into her room, grabbed my dad's belt, and started spanking me while I was on FaceTime with my crush. I was crying, and while I was getting spanked, I tried to hang up the FaceTime call numerous times, but I couldn't do it. I looked like this. "Mom, stop! Mom!" So she just saw the whole thing happen, and for the next week, I pretended to be sick so my mom wouldn't make me go to school because I was too embarrassed to ever see her again. Does anyone else have a friend that's late to literally everything? And that's not even an exaggeration because my friend doesn't have his license, so anytime we want to do anything, I have to pick him up. So you would think since I'm doing this favor, he would always be ready to go on time, right? Wrong, because whenever I leave my house, I text him saying that I'm on my way, and he'll respond right away. So then when I'm like 2 minutes away, I'll text him again saying that I'm here. But when I send that text saying that I've arrived, for some reason in his head, that's the signal for him to start getting ready. He doesn't even get out of bed until I send that text. So I literally have to wait outside of his house for at least 20 minutes before he's actually ready. But there's been times where I would have to wait a really long time, so I would FaceTime him and he would literally be in the shower. Like, why didn't you do that before? Or another time I FaceTimed him after waiting a while and he was heating up the stove to make chili. Bro, I've been waiting outside of your house for 2 hours. And you're revving up the fryers? At this point, I've just accepted it though, because you can't change him. You can't. Never get into an Uber if the driver seems weird, because I got into an Uber the other day and the driver was a little creepy from the start, but I was like, whatever, no big deal. But then he took a wrong turn and I was like, "Excuse me, sir, I think you missed the turn." And he said, "Don't worry, I know a shortcut." But he kept going in the wrong direction, so I was like, "Oh, I know what's going on here. I'm getting kidnapped." At least that's what I thought was happening. So he continued driving, and I kept trying to make excuses for him to let me out of the car. Like there was McDonald's on the side, and I was like, "Sir, you could just drop me off here. I'm feeling pretty hungry." And he says, "Oh, I can't do that. I gotta take you to the destination in the app or else I'll get in trouble." I mean, you've taken like 10 wrong turns already, but yeah, stopping at McDonald's is what's gonna get you in trouble. So anyways, 2 minutes later, he pulls into an elementary school parking lot and I'm thinking, there's no way this man's allowed within 500 feet of this place. But he went in anyway, and you know what he did? He picked up a kid from school. He went 25 minutes out of the way to pick his kid up from school. And honestly, I respect that. But why are you driving me too? But that's not even the funniest part. After the kid gets in the car, he looks me up and down like this and goes, "What's up, Holmes?" First of all, you are 7. Why do you talk like that? And second of all, did you just look me up and down to see if I'm armed? So now I'm in the car with 2 people and I'm more scared of the kid than the dad now. Like I'm pretty sure if I cough weird, this kid's just gonna start stabbing me with a pencil. But anyways, 25 minutes later, he gets me to my destination. And this man has the audacity to say, "Hey, don't forget to leave 5 stars." So you know what I did? I stood up to him and I said, "Yes, of course, sir, absolutely," and walked away super quick. This man had my address now. I was not about to give him 1 star. If that Uber driver or his son are watching this video, actually probably more to his son, Please don't come in my house. I'm terrified of you guys. Never teach old people Gen Z phrases because I may have just ruined an old man's life. I was at the dog park and this old man and I started talking and he was telling me about how he used to be a zookeeper before he retired. So he asked me if I wanted to see a picture of him with some animals. So I was like, yeah, of course. Then he showed me a picture of him with the gorillas from the zoo. But for some reason, the gorilla was like really curvy. So when I saw the picture, the first thing I thought of to say was, that thing's got a gat. So I said it, but I did not think about the fact that he probably didn't know what that word meant. So then he asked me, what does gat mean? I panicked because how am I supposed to tell him that I just called the gorilla curvy without it sounding weird? So instead of telling him what gat really means, I just say, it's what you say when someone has a nice smile. And you know what he says? He goes, hey, well then you've got a gat. No! You're not supposed to say it! And this poor guy was really sweet, so I know that he's just going around telling everybody that they have a gat now. What have I done? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Have you ever met someone that's super bold over text, but the complete opposite in person? Because when I'm texting someone, I feel like I'm Brad Pitt with some of the stuff I'll say. Like one time I texted a girl saying that I was gonna give her the time of her life next time I saw her in person. What does that mean? I don't know. But I was definitely lying because the next time I saw her in person, this is what I did. But the moment I see you in person, I start shaking in my boots. And the worst part about being super bold over text, but not the same in person, is that the girl will start to think you're messing with her on purpose. But I'm not trying to, I promise. I just don't know how to form a sentence when I see a girl I like in real life. Now that I think about it, this is probably why I used to have so many girlfriends on Roblox. What am I doing with my life? No one talks about how hard it is to pass a class when your teacher is super cool, but sucks at teaching. Because I had a teacher like this, and I remember the day before our final exams, we were supposed to spend the whole class asking her questions we had so we would be prepared for the test. But instead, she just spent the whole class telling us the story about how her husband died in a skydiving accident. Very sorry for your loss, but dog, I'm going to fail history if you don't get it together. Luckily, I ended up passing the class, but I know a bunch of kids who didn't. The worst part was that one time after the whole class did bad on a test, she asked us why we all did so bad, and the whole class basically just started roasting her, saying that it was her fault. It was literally like an intervention. Like she almost started crying, and I felt bad, but she needed to hear it. Miss Rivero, if you're watching this, I love you, but please lock in. You can always tell when someone is rich because they do not act like normal people. Like there was one rich person I grew up with, and one time we were talking to each other on a Friday, and I was like, do you have any plans for the weekend? And he was like, oh, well, I've really been craving my favorite restaurant lately, so we're probably gonna go there tomorrow. So I said, that's cool. What's the name of the restaurant? And he says, La Sponda. So I was like, I've never heard of that place before. Where's that at? And you know what he says? With a straight face, he looks me in the eyes and says, Italy. We are in the United States having this conversation, by the way. And we also have school on Monday. So I'm like kind of laughing, waiting for him to crack a smile and say that it was a joke. But no, he was serious. This same person has asked me what temperature I like the sauna to be at. And I was like, I don't know, whatever temperature the gym has it as. Because that's the only place I have access to a sauna. And he was confused because he has a sauna in his house. But honestly, I don't think we're too far off from each other. I mean, he might be going to Italy for dinner, but when I go to McDonald's, I don't even have to order off the dollar menu anymore. I just got banned from this cemetery because I was at a funeral for someone I don't know because I like going to random funerals, but I'm also really bad in awkward situations. And a lady at the funeral was crying, so I said, hey, don't cry. Just picture everyone here naked and you'll start to smile. And to be fair, she did stop crying, but only because she was yelling at me now. After she started yelling, more people came over to us and everyone started to realize that I didn't know anyone there. So I got kicked out of the funeral and the security guard said that I'm banned from ever going to that cemetery again. I told him, you can't ban me. My great grandma lives in this cemetery. But then he said, you're gonna be right next to your great grandma for eternity if you ever come back. I switched up so fast. I was like, yes, sir, I'll never come back. So now I can never visit my great grandma again. That kind of sucks, but it's my fault. By the way, rest in peace, Martin. Sorry if I ruined your funeral. So coyotes are allowed here, but I can't ever come back? Come on, man. If you're ever feeling embarrassed, just know that I used to never wear underwear when I was a kid, but this ended up ruining my life. Because one day at school, there was a group of kids going around just pulling everyone's pants down because they thought it was funny. And most people laughed when they did it, but I was terrified because I knew that if they tried to do that to me, everyone would see my willy. So the whole day, I just made sure to be super aware of all my surroundings. But then at recess, I was playing basketball, and as I jumped to shoot the ball, a kid creeps up behind me and pulls my pants down. But the worst part was that since I was jumping as he was pulling my pants, they came like all the way down. It took me a good 5 seconds to get my pants back up, and everyone could see my private parts for that whole time. But from that moment on, I've worn underwear every day since. I should have switched schools, bruh. This is a warning to never put your phone on Do Not Disturb mode because my friend got arrested for trespassing. But you may be asking, what does that have to do with my phone being on Do Not Disturb? Well, you see, my friend lives by himself and the rest of his family lives a couple states away. So if he ever has a problem, he either reaches out to me or one of our other friends. So he got arrested and I had no idea this happened until I looked at my phone and I saw that I had a voicemail from 9 hours ago. But I didn't recognize who the voicemail was from, so I clicked on it and I listened to it, and it turns out I was his one phone call from jail. Why would you call me? Who do I look like, Saul Goodman? But anyways, I called the jail back and apparently he got released by the time I saw my voicemail. So I called his actual number to see how he was doing and he said that he was fine and that he walked home from the jail when he got out. So in my head, I'm like, oh, the jail must be pretty close to where he lives then, right? So I Googled the location of the jail and he lives 7 miles away from it. So I called him back and I said, dude, did you just walk 7 miles home? And he says, oh, is that how far I walked? So this is your friendly reminder to never put your phone on Do Not Disturb because your friend, that's now a felon, might get stranded if you do. How do people break up, then get in a different relationship like a month later? Like, how do you do that so quick? Because I know someone who got cheated on and he was crying for like 2 days straight because he said he thought this was the girl that he was gonna marry. And 3 weeks later, I see that he's on a plane to go see a new girl. How did you do that so quickly? Like, I've been trying to be in a relationship for my whole life and haven't been able to do it once. And you did it twice in 1 month? If you go to McDonald's and they tell you that the ice cream machine is broken, they are lying because one time I went and I asked for an ice cream cone, but they were like, ooh, sorry, our machine is broken. And I didn't think anything of it because it's always broken. But then I literally saw another worker walk up to the ice cream machine with a cone and they filled it up. So what did I do? I pointed this out to the employee that was taking my order and I was like, it looks like your machine is working just fine. And he just turns around, looks at the employee using the machine and he goes, all right, I'll get you a cone. What do you mean, all right? You're acting like you didn't just straight up lie to my face. So to all McDonald's employees out there, why do you guys act like the machine's always broken when it's not? Just give me my ice cream. Why did no one tell me that Black History Month has a flag? Because I just horribly embarrassed myself. I was waiting in line to get food at the airport and the person behind me complimented my jacket. So I wanted to give them a compliment back and they were wearing a little pin on their shirt. So I said, I like the pin you're wearing. Is that the country you're from? You know what they said? They said, no, this isn't a country. It's the Black History Month flag. Bro, I thought that was the Lithuania flag. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Luckily, they laughed it off and they were cool about it, but my face got so red. This is why I don't open my mouth, like ever. I'm stupid. I'm just stupid. Why is it so much easier to flirt with people you don't like? Because when I'm around my friends, I have so much game. Like I've had friends tell me before that they can't tell if I'm joking or not when I flirt with them because I'm so good at it. But if you get me around a person that I actually like, I'm cooked. I can no longer speak English. I start stuttering, sweating, it's awful. And if somehow I do manage to stop stuttering, I just say something weird like, you have nice earlobes. No, seriously, I've actually said that pickup line before. It didn't work. But what's even worse is when someone flirts with me because I don't know how to react. Girls have flirted with me before and I just start uncomfortably laughing or fart or something like that because my brain just shuts off in these situations. Be honest, guys, is it over for me? It's definitely over for me. Never change your phone number because I had to recently, and on the very first day of having this number, I started getting a bunch of texts from a random group chat of people I don't know. But over time, I realized that this was a family group chat, and my new number must have been one of the family members' old number. But they didn't know that, so sometimes I would purposely start drama in the family group chat whenever I was bored. Like after about a week, I knew all of their names, and I knew a little bit about each one of them. And one big thing that they would always text about in the group chat was their daughter, Janessa, because Janessa was dating a boy that the rest of the family did not approve of. So one time, the group chat was pretty dry, so I just decided to send a text and say, Janessa, how could you not tell us that you got engaged? And immediately after sending this, the whole group chat just went crazy. Like family members were calling, texting, leaving the group, and Janessa literally just replied in all caps saying, that is not true. But since the family didn't like the guy already, I think they kind of believed that this was something Janessa would do, so they didn't believe her. So at this point, I kind of felt bad and felt like I took it too far, so I just decided to tell everyone that I am not the person they think I am. And right away, they just kicked me out of the group chat. I was low-key hurt though, because I kind of felt like I was becoming a member of the family. But Janessa, I hope there's no hard feelings. I wish the best for you and your boyfriend. Why does having a crush make you become a freak? Because one time I liked this girl and we would FaceTime, but every once in a while she would mute her mic. So I asked, why do you keep muting your mic? But she didn't want to tell me because she said it was embarrassing. But I kept asking her, so she said, fine, I'll tell you. Then she said, I mute my mic every time I have to fart. You know what my response was? I said, oh, don't mute your mic. I want to hear your farts. Bro, why would I say that? I didn't even mean it in a weird way. I just wanted her to be comfortable with me, but I couldn't explain that now. Like, did I actually want to hear her farts? Well,
No, but it practically sounded like I was begging to hear them. I just know this is what I looked like to her. Please let me smell them. It's safe to say me and that girl did not work out.
Does anyone else's mom just tell random people your darkest secrets for no reason? Because I love my mom, but I don't tell her secrets anymore because the moment I do, I know that she'll go down Hollywood Boulevard with a megaphone and tell everyone else. And it's not like she's trying to be mean. I think all moms just naturally do this. But it gets even worse because not only will she tell other people my secrets, but she'll slightly change the story to make it sound more embarrassing. Like one time I was at dinner with my mom and her friend has a 2-year-old boy. So she kept complaining about how her son is always wetting the bed. And you wanna know what my mom said back? She says, "Oh, that's normal. Tyler wet the bed until he was 14. First of all, that's not true. I stopped wetting the bed when I was like a lot younger. But one night when I was 14, I drank too much water before bed and I ended up wetting the bed that night. But second of all, why would you tell them that? She wasn't even asking about me. You initiated that. Like, I get that you want to relate to her, but at what cost? And if you're gonna tell everyone my business, the least you could do is not make it sound worse than it is. I can't even blame her though, because she doesn't do it on purpose. I'm just tired of her accidentally cooking me.
Why are 911 operators so calm? Like, I just saw this video where a lady was literally being chased by someone with a machete. And she was on the 911 call like, help, they're chasing me, please hurry. And the operator was just like, okay, ma'am, can you tell me your name? What? Like, if I was the 911 operator right there, I would be like, a machete? Run, girl, run! And trust me, I know they're calm on purpose, but I feel like if I was being chased by someone and the only response I got was, what's your name? I would be even more stressed because, like, do you even care? The operators talk as if you just interrupted something that they were doing. Like in one of the videos, I could hear the operator yawn. Imagine running for your life and the 911 operator yawns. You're cooked. You're cooked. Why do teachers get pregnant so much during school? And it makes going to school so weird because one time I had a teacher that was 8 months pregnant for like half the year. And randomly in the middle of class, she would always scream and she would be like, oh, sorry guys, it's the baby kicking. Like we would literally be reading a book because it was English class and she would be like, but then Romeo, and we would be terrified like, girl, did your water just break? But she could see that we were always petrified when she would scream. So she would try to make jokes and be like, I might pop this baby out right here. No one laughed when she said stuff like that because we were like, yeah, you probably will. But you want to know what the most funny part is? The next year, I had her for a class again, and she was pregnant again. Like, how freaky are you getting during summer break? We need to give teachers more time off so they don't gotta teach a class while they're 13 months pregnant.
Why are parents so dramatic over text? Like just yesterday, I got a text from my mom that said, just know I'll always love you, ... That's a little weird to randomly text someone, but I didn't think anything more of it until she sent another text saying, it's too late. So at this point, I'm like, okay, my mom is clearly crying out for help. So I call her with my heart beating out of my chest. And I'm like, Mom, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, honey, why? So I'm like, cause you just sent me a text that made it sound like I'm never gonna see you again. And she goes, oh no, I'm okay. So then I say, then what did you mean when you said it's too late? And she goes, oh, I was saying it's too late to make dinner. Can you pick something up on your way home? Out of all the possible ways you could have said, it's too late to make dinner, how did you say it in the worst way possible? Like, are parents just allergic to giving context when texting people? If you told me 2 people were texting me and you said one of them was my mom and the other one was Ghostface from the Scream movies, I wouldn't be able to tell a difference because they typed the exact same. Like, I shouldn't be getting goosebumps from casually texting my parents. Never name a group chat with your friends something weird because one time, my friends were sending a bunch of messages in our group chat, but I was taking a nap, so I didn't hear any of the notifications, but my mom did. So after hearing the notification sound go off like 20 times, she decided to look at my phone to see why it was making so much noise. And after she did, she woke me up and she was like, Tyler, why do you keep getting a bunch of notifications from Jeffrey Dahmer's refrigerator? And I was like, they're my friend's mom, but she doesn't really know much about Jeffrey Dahmer. So when I explained to her that he used to put some weird things in his fridge, my mom was like, why would you name your group chat after that? And how am I supposed to explain to someone over the age of 35 why young people give group chats weird names like this? So I was just like, honestly, Mom, I don't know. Have you ever met someone that doesn't know how to show affection? Like, you can't tell if they just had the best day of their life or the worst day of their life because either way, they're the exact same. Like, my friend that goes to Harvard is like this, and I was there when he opened his letter to see if he got in or not, and we all thought he got denied because when he opened his letter, this was literally his reaction. Oh. He quite possibly just got the best news of his whole life, and his reaction was to slightly shake his head and say, oh? But this is where it gets crazy because he's the exact same way when something bad happens too. One time he missed a day of school, so the next day when he was back, I asked him why he was gone. And he literally just replied by saying, my grandma died. What? Dog, it's okay to cry a little bit, or at least act a little sad. You don't always have to be nonchalant. But it's not like he's even trying to act tough. This is just how he naturally is. Like, you should see this guy when he's on a roller coaster. This is literally how he is.
Have
Have you ever met siblings that you know would date each other if they could? Because one day at school, I met this new guy and he told me to add him on social media, so I did. And then I clicked through his profile to look at his pictures and I see a photo of a girl sitting on his lap, so I'm thinking, oh, he didn't tell me that he has a girlfriend. So I looked at the picture again, but then I looked at the person who he tagged in it, and that was when I saw that she had the same last name as him. So that was when I realized, oh my gosh, that's his sister. That's gross. But you know what makes this crazy? I went onto her profile to see if she had any weird pictures of them together too. And then I see a picture of her hugging a guy. So I'm like, oh, yep, another freaky pic with her brother. But no, it was the one thing that could have been worse than that. It was her boyfriend. And he looked exactly like her brother. She was dating the guy because he reminded her of her brother. That confirmed it for me. They definitely want to date each other. I just met a Gen Z parent for the first time, and the next generation is doomed. So I was at the DMV, and I sat next to this girl who was getting a new license because hers expired. And she showed me her old one, and I saw that her birthday was the exact same as mine. And as I'm talking to her, I see a little kid run by, and she goes, Noah, stop running. And I said, how do you know that kid? And she was like, oh, that's my son. First of all, why aren't you watching him? But second of all, we're the same age and you already have a kid? I'm out here still playing with Legos and you have a kid? But anyways, we started talking about her kid and she told me that when she found out she was pregnant, she was terrified because she was like, what if I don't even like the baby? I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but I guess it's fair. And then she told me how her son starts school next week and that she's really scared for that to happen too, because what if he asked her for help on his homework? And I was like, what do you mean? If he needs help, just help him. And she said, well, if he goes up to me and says, Mama, how do I solve this math problem? What do I say? I'm not good at math either. And the more she spoke, the more I was like, damn, you're kind of right. I can't do math either. Now I'm scared to have a kid. Thanks a lot, Noah. I've been getting catfished for months by this girl that I met at the gym, and you might say, oh, well, how can you be getting catfished if you met her in person? Me and this girl go to the gym at the same time almost every single day, so we eventually would start talking to each other. And I thought we were becoming friends until one day, I see her working at the grocery store, and keep in mind, I've never seen her outside of the gym before. So I wave to her, and she makes direct eye contact with me, gives me a really weird look, and then turns around and walks the other way. So I'm like, huh. That's weird. And the next day at the gym, she's acting really nice again. And I didn't want to bring up the interaction if she didn't because I thought it would be really awkward. So I just kind of pretended it didn't happen. But then I go to the store a week later and she's working there again. So this time I go up to her and ask her how she's doing. And she says good, but she's still acting like she doesn't know me. So I'm like, what is going on? And the next day I see her at the gym again. And I finally confront her and say, why do you always act like you don't know me when I see you at the store? And she goes, what are you talking about? And I say, I've seen you working at the grocery store multiple times and you always act like you don't know me. But then she goes, wait, which store? And I tell her the store and she starts laughing and then goes, oh, that's where my twin sister works. You're telling me this whole time, I've probably been terrifying this poor girl at the grocery store waving to her like this. And it wasn't even the right person. I can never tell the difference between twins. Have you ever had a class with your best friend? Because it may sound like fun, but it's actually the worst thing ever because I had a class with mine and one time he shaved his head completely bald and don't ask why, I don't know. But anyways, on that same day, the teacher was really late to class and when she finally arrived, she was crying. And she said, I'm sorry guys, I know you're probably all wondering what's going on. I just got news that my mother passed away. Obviously, that's very tragic news, right? Well, after she told us this, she started crying even more, and I felt really bad for her. But then I looked over at my friend, and he just looked so ridiculous with the light shining off of his bald head that I literally laughed out loud. And the teacher must have thought that I was laughing at her crying, so she kicked me out of class. I didn't deserve to get kicked out of class. It's not my fault my friend looks like Walter White. But I think there's something wrong with me. Every time there's an awkward situation, I laugh. My condolences to my teacher, though. I'm sure your mother was lovely. Never give a stranger a compliment because I was just at the mall and I saw this guy that had a really fancy jacket on and it was red and gold. So I gave him a compliment on the jacket. But after I did this, he gave me a really nasty look and I didn't understand why until I realized what I just said. Because the day before this, I watched the Shrek movie and the jacket that this guy was wearing really made me think of this king's jacket from the movie. So the compliment that I told him was, hey, I really like your jacket. It makes you look like the king from Shrek. But now I know why he gave me a nasty look after saying that because after he gave me the look, I heard him say, I'm not even that short. So this made me realize that he thought I was saying that he looked like Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Because he's the main king in the movie, so that's definitely who this guy thought I was talking about. If you see this, bro, that is not who I was comparing you to. I'm sorry. I just hope he wasn't thinking about what I said for the rest of the day because if someone told me that I looked like Lord Farquaad, I would never leave my house again.
No one talks about how crazy it is when the two most unexpected people you know start dating, because there's a foreign exchange student at my school who doesn't speak any English, so we have to use a translating website to talk to him. But the other day, I show up to school and I see this kid holding hands with a very pretty cheerleader. And this girl's from Tennessee, like she has a southern accent and everything. So some of my friends and I go up to the foreign exchange student and we say, "What's going on between you two?" And he's been in America for about a year now, so we've taught him some slang. So he just kept responding with, "W Riz, W Riz." When I tell you that I almost shed a tear, I'm not kidding. This man can't even speak English, but he got a girlfriend. I feel like a proud father, man. That's my boy. Money doesn't buy happiness has to be the worst quote ever created, because it literally does. And it's always rich people saying it. They'll be like, "My life was actually way better when I was poor." Oh yeah? Then give me your money! Like, if you miss being poor, then just give away your money. It's not hard to do. But I just know someone will be like, "Actually, I agree with that quote, because the stuff in life that really makes you happy is things that you can't buy, like family and love." And to those people, I say, do you know what the only thing my parents argue about is? Money! You can't be happy with your family if you can't feed them. How are you gonna spend time with the people that make you happy if you can't, because you're spending all your time working to make money? Have you ever heard of anyone not being happy while on a yacht? No? Me neither, because being on a yacht is awesome. Even if it was possible to be sad on a yacht, I would much rather be sad there than in a 1-bedroom apartment with no air conditioning. So if any rich people out there want to prove to me that money doesn't buy happiness, let me know. Have you ever had a moment where you realized you were turning into your parents? Because I was just driving my little cousin home and we passed by a Taco Bell, so he went, "Ooh, can we get Taco Bell?" And you wanna know what I said? I was like, "No, we have food at home." Why would I say that? That's my parents' line. And the crazy part is, I love Taco Bell. Like when we were driving by it, I was also thinking, "Oh, Taco Bell sounds really good right now." So when I finally realized that I was acting like an unk, you know what I did? I told my cousin, "Yeah, actually we can go to Taco Bell." And I made a U-turn and we went to Taco Bell. But this isn't the first time I felt like I was turning into my parents, because I had to ask this same cousin what skibbity meant, because I had no idea. Like, what's next? Am I gonna start texting people with my index finger? I'm becoming such an unk and I'm scared. Did anyone else's parents ever say, "You should be more like your friend," without knowing how crazy that friend actually was? Because one time, my mom and I got into a big argument, so she was like, "Why can't you be more like Dylan? He's so mature and polite." And when she said that, I tried not to laugh, because little did she know, Dylan was a real life supervillain. And she saw that I was holding back my laugh after she said that, so she was like, "What's so funny?" And I said, "Mom, if you knew what Dylan does, you would not be saying that." So she replied with, "Well, what does Dylan do then?" And I thought about not telling her because I didn't want to expose Dylan, but I was like, nah, I gotta do it. I gotta protect myself. So I told her that during school, when we were in the locker room, Dylan had a spray deodorant that he would use every day, but he also had a lighter. So he would use these two things to spray flames at people while they were changing in the locker room. Everyone would run away from him because he was throwing these flames at everybody. Like, if you saw this guy doing that in public, you would run for cover. But yeah, Mom, I can be more like him if that's what you want. I love my mom though, just want to say that. If there's one group of people you don't want to run into in public, it's a pack of little kids, because when they're together, they're more dangerous than I am when I'm near a crumble cookie. Because they will roast you in ways that you could never even think of. Like the other day, I'm just going for a walk, minding my own business, and I walked past this elementary school. But it happened to be the exact time where the kids were getting out. So as I'm walking by, I see a pack of them look at me. So I look down because I don't want any problems with them. But their group leader must have looked at me and saw that I have bags under my eyes, because he said, "Hey, did the lemurs kick you out of your pack?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "You look like a lemur." And he said this because lemurs have circles around their eyes. So his friends started laughing, and I wanted to say a comeback of something like, "You only know what a lemur is from watching Madagascar." But I froze, and instead, I just started laughing with them. And I think this kind of confused them, because when I did that, they all stopped, and then they gave me a weird judgmental look like, "What's wrong with this guy?" And that was pretty much the end of the interaction. But it stinks, because I literally had to change the path that I take for walks every day, because I don't want to go in these kids' territory anymore. If ghosts are real, the scariest part about them is definitely the fact that some of them are probably British. Ooh! Whoa, a ghost, cool. Oi, bravo, you're not scared of me? You're British? Ah! Why can guys not show emotion to each other without it being weird? Because my friend just literally beat cancer, and when he told me that, I reacted by saying, "That's amazing, bro, I love you," and I tried to give him a hug, but he backed away. And then he gave me a weird look, and I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "That's weird, bro. You can't say I love you, then go in for a hug. We're dudes." Bro, you just beat cancer. I'm not trying to take your pants off. All I was saying is that I love you and I'm glad you're alive. But he was like, "Nah, that's just too weird, bro." So from now on, if any of my friends do something amazing like beating cancer, this is how I'm gonna react. "Oh, you beat cancer? Hey, that's fire, bro. That's fire." Have you ever met someone that literally doesn't like the person they're in a relationship with? Because one time I was with my friend and he got a phone call, but when he saw who was calling, he was literally like, damn it, dude, no. And I was like, who's calling? Your landlord? And he was like, no, it's my girlfriend. Now, I'm not the smartest person ever, but aren't you supposed to like the person you're in a relationship with? And you may say, oh, well, maybe they were just having an argument that day. But there was another time where he was planning his birthday party and he was like, who should I invite? And we were like, maybe invite some of your friends, invite your girlfriend, obviously. But when we said the word girlfriend, he was literally like, like, you clearly do not want to be with her. Why are you together? But then he got mad at me for pointing that out and he was like, you don't get it. You've never been in a relationship. Every relationship has their ups and downs. Dog, your relationship is just one big down. There is no ups. I don't know if I've ever seen either of them smile when they're together. I don't get it.
Do not text people in the middle of the night, because the other night I was watching a really emotional video talking about how you should appreciate your loyal friends. So it made me think of my friend. So I texted him saying, I love you, bro. And then within like 10 seconds of sending that message, he calls me, but I declined it because I'm not answering a phone call at 3 a.m. But he texts me in all caps saying, please pick up the phone. And I'm like, damn, all I said was I love you, but whatever, I'll pick up the phone. So I do. And he's like, dude, don't do anything you'll regret. I'm here for you. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? Then he says, that text you sent me? And I respond with, yeah, what about it? Then he says, I thought that was you telling me goodbye. So I took a step back and thought about it and I was like, oh, yeah, now that I think about it, sending a text at 3 a.m. saying I love you does kind of make it look like it's my last day here. So I had to explain to him that I was just in my feels because I was watching a sad video. But this is why I don't stay up past midnight. Everything I do past midnight, I regret.
Why do girls never make the first move? Like the other day, this girl was telling me about how she was super nervous to ask this guy out and I was like, why? And she said, because I'm scared of getting rejected. And I was like, you do realize that guys will not reject girls, right? Guys are desperate. I mean, the other day, I dropped my wallet on the ground and this girl simply just picked it up and gave it back to me and I instantly fell in love with her. Why did I not tell her that? Because she was like 70 years old, but that's besides the point. The point is that guys are not used to getting attention like that. So when we do, we're attached to you like this. Ladies, I am not kidding. The next time you see a man that you're even slightly attracted to in public, ask for his number. This is how the interaction will go. Hey, I thought you were really cute. Do you think I could get your number? Yes. Do you want to marry me? Now, am I saying this because I'm scared to approach women, so I just want them to approach me? That's not important, actually.
Never date someone in your friend group, because 2 people in my friend group dated, but then like 3 months later, they broke up and it did not end on good terms. So it made hanging out with them the most awkward experience ever, because neither of them were just gonna leave the friend group because their ex was a part of it. So when we would all hang out together, it was super uncomfortable because the girl would show up and everyone would be talking, having a good time, but then the guy would show up and the room would just go silent and we would all stare at the girl to see her reaction. And you might think they would just ignore each other the whole time, but no, they did the one thing that was worse. They would argue the whole time. It felt like being on an episode of Dr. Phil every time we would hang out. So eventually, we just had no choice but to stop hanging out as a group. So unless you are literally going to marry a person in your friend group, do not date them. Isn't it crazy how girls will give such obvious hints when they like a guy, but we don't even realize it? Like, gentlemen, if a girl has ever asked you to open a bottle for her before, there's a reason. You think she actually can't open that bottle? Of course she can. She's just throwing you a layup. But what girls don't realize is that most of us men don't have a thought going on behind our head. So we don't realize this. Like one time a girl told me that she liked my jacket. So I was like, oh, thank you. But then she said, it would probably look better on me though. So in my head, I was like, damn, that's mean. I thought I looked pretty good in the jacket myself. Like they try to make it so obvious that they're flirting, but we just don't get it. But this made me realize that everyone always thinks guys flirt way more than girls. That's not true. Girls flirt a lot. It just goes over our head most of the time. Having a crush is so much better than actually being in a relationship, because when you have a crush, there's no downsides. It's just pure delusion. Like when I have a crush, every day I wake up and try to look as good as possible, just so that when I see them at school, I can pretend that they're looking back at me and thinking, oh my gosh, look at Tyler, he's so hot. Now in reality, they probably don't even see me, and if they do, they're running the opposite way. But that's okay, because having a crush is about pure delusion. But there's one big downside to this, because I love the feeling of having a crush so much that I never actually talk to the girls, because I just want to keep that perfect delusional scenario going in my head. And for some reason, I always just think that somehow me and my crush will start dating without me actually having to approach them. I mean, it hasn't worked yet, but if that is actually possible, please someone tell me, because I'm getting very desperate.
Why does having a crush make you become a freak? Because one time I liked this girl and we would FaceTime, but every once in a while she would mute her mic. So I asked, why do you keep muting your mic? But she didn't want to tell me because she said it was embarrassing. But I kept asking her, so she said, fine, I'll tell you. Then she said, I mute my mic every time I have to fart. You know what my response was? I said, oh, don't mute your mic. I want to hear your farts. Bro, why would I say that? I didn't even mean it in a weird way. I just wanted her to be comfortable with me, but I couldn't explain that now. Like, did I actually want to hear her farts? Well, no, but it practically sounded like I was begging to hear them. I just know this is what I looked like to her. Please let me smell them. It's safe to say me and that girl did not work out.
Never let your friends hang out at your house. always go to their house instead, because last time my friends came to my house, I got horribly embarrassed at school the next day because right when you walk into the kitchen at my house, there's a super embarrassing picture of me in 5th grade wearing a clown outfit on the refrigerator. So when my friends saw this, you know what they did? They decided to take a picture of it and send it to a bunch of people at school without me knowing. So the next day, I'm at school minding my own business and someone shows me this picture. So I'm like, how did you get that? But then another person shows me the picture and then I'm like, uh-oh. I know what's going on here. But it got even worse because not only did everyone at school see my picture, it started to become such a big meme that people were literally making it their screensaver on their phone. Like I couldn't go anywhere without seeing this photo. Even the dang lunch lady had it as her screensaver. Okay, maybe that part's not true. But anyways, if you ever have your friends over at your house, hide all your pictures or you will regret it. Growing up is crazy because my friend just told me that he got a girl pregnant and my first reaction was to be like, oh my gosh, dude, what are you gonna do? But when I said that, he looked confused and he was like, we're gonna raise it? And I was like, yeah, well, I guess you kind of have to, right? So then he was like, why are you saying that like it's a bad thing? And then I said, well, this was obviously a big accident and your parents are probably gonna freak out when you tell them. But he was like, dude, no, we've been trying to have a kid for a couple months. We wanna start a family and my parents are super excited. And that was the moment where I was like, oh yeah, we're getting to the age where people start to have families on purpose. This is terrifying though, because I'm nowhere near close to starting a family. I still live with my parents, dog. So if anyone wants to start a family with me, just let me know. I'm such a failure.
No one talks about how crazy it is when the two most unexpected people you know start dating, because there's a foreign exchange student at my school who doesn't speak any English, so we have to use a translating website to talk to him. But the other day, I show up to school and I see this kid holding hands with a very pretty cheerleader. And this girl's from Tennessee, like she has a southern accent and everything. So some of my friends and I go up to the foreign exchange student and we say, what's going on between you two? And he's been in America for about a year now, so we've taught him some slang. So he just kept responding with, W-Riz, W-Riz. When I tell you that I almost shed a tear, I'm not kidding. This man can't even speak English, but he got a girlfriend. I feel like a proud father, man. That's my boy.
To anyone that's ever wondered why girls take so much longer to get ready than guys, I just figured it out. I was just taking a shower and I looked at my shampoo bottle randomly. And that was when I realized that it was a 6-in-1, meaning that it was a shampoo, conditioner, body wash, face wash, deodorizer, and moisturizer. All in one bottle. I'm pretty sure I could use this instead of gas to fill up my car. Like, talk about efficiency. But with girls, they have an insane amount of products. If you ever go into a bathroom that a girl uses, you will see that there's about 700 different bottles in there. Like, I know a girl that literally uses a different product for each eyebrow. How does that work? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that if a girl came over and she saw me using a 6-in-1 shampoo, she would get a restraining order against me. And you may say, how are you not aware of this? My mom buys all my stuff. I don't pay attention to that. I just use it. It is really efficient though. I might try brushing my teeth with it tomorrow.
Have you ever met siblings that you know would date each other if they could? Because one day at school, I met this new guy and he told me to add him on social media, so I did. And then I clicked through his profile to look at his pictures and I see a photo of a girl sitting on his lap, so I'm thinking, oh, he didn't tell me that he has a girlfriend. So I looked at the picture again, but then I looked at the person who he tagged in it, and that was when I saw that she had the same last name as him. So that was when I realized, oh my gosh, that's his sister. That's gross. But you know what makes this crazy? I went onto her profile to see if she had any weird pictures of them together too. And then I see a picture of her hugging a guy. So I'm like, oh, yep, another freaky pic with her brother. But no, it was the one thing that could have been worse than that. It was her boyfriend. And he looked exactly like her brother. She was dating the guy because he reminded her of her brother. That confirmed it for me. They definitely want to date each other.
Never teach old people Gen Z phrases because I may have just ruined an old man's life. I was at the dog park and this old man and I started talking and he was telling me about how he used to be a zookeeper before he retired. So he asked me if I wanted to see a picture of him with some animals. So I was like, yeah, of course. Then he showed me a picture of him with the gorillas from the zoo. But for some reason, the gorilla was like really curvy. So when I saw the picture, the first thing I thought of to say was, that thing's got a gat. So I said it, but I did not think about the fact that he probably didn't know what that word meant. So then he asked me, what does gat mean? I panicked because how am I supposed to tell him that I just called the gorilla curvy without it sounding weird? So instead of telling him what gat really means, I just say, oh, it's what you say when someone has a nice smile. And you know what he says? He goes, hey, well then you've got a gat. No, you're not supposed to say it. And this poor guy was really sweet. So I know that he's just going around telling everybody that they have a gat now. What have I done? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Why do people who have never been in a relationship before give the best relationship advice? Like anytime one of my friends ask me for advice in their relationship, I somehow turn into Dr. Phil with the advice I'll give them. Cause one time, my friend and his girl were arguing about how he never wanted to do things that she enjoyed, like shopping for clothes, but she also didn't want to do things that he enjoyed, like playing video games. So when they told me this, I was like, well, relationships are about compromise. So you guys have to learn how to both do things that the other person enjoys. Not because you enjoy it too, but because you love them and want to support them. Where the heck did I pull that one from? I don't know anything about compromising in a relationship because I've never been in one. Yet somehow, I'm out here speaking like a marriage counselor. And I know people will say the quote that goes like, you guide people to a treasure that you cannot possess. But man, I'm sick of guiding these people. I want to get my own treasure already.
What would you do if a little kid's mom tried to pepper spray you? Because that's what happened to me today.
I was minding my own business, and then a little kid comes up to me and says, your shirt is ugly. And then he does a cartwheel as he walks away. And I could have just let the situation end there, but I have a very fragile ego. So I decided to say, hey buddy, your cartwheel is ugly. And this made the kid start to cry. And he ran to his mom and pointed at me. And then the mom started to walk over to me and I was like, oh, I know I'm in trouble now. So I pretended to be on a phone call. You know, like when you're too scared to talk to a girl, so you pretend to be on the phone. But the mom did not care. So she went right up to me and she started screaming at me. So I tried to de-escalate the situation and I said, lady, I'm sorry for what I said to your kid, but he's also a snitch. And then she tried to pepper spray me. And I don't blame her for trying to pepper spray me. It was honestly kind of a boss move. I should probably just stop arguing with little kids. To everyone who keeps commenting for me to oil up, my family follows me on here, but they don't understand social media at all. So what do you think their reaction is when they go in my comment section and see 500 comments saying, oil up, oil up, oil up? The past 3 nights at dinner, I've had to explain to them what that means. So please stop commenting it. I can't do this anymore. I do not care if I get insulted by a man or a woman, but if I get insulted by a kid, I want to cry because they do not lie. If they insult you, they said it because they truly believe it. Like one time I was at the airport just minding my own business and this little kid comes up to me and says, why do you have a pepperoni on your face? So I pull my phone out to look at myself on the camera and I see nothing there. So I'm like, what do you mean I have a pepperoni on my face? And he puts his finger on my forehead and goes, right here. And I realized that he's talking about a pimple I had. So I laughed and went, oh, that's not a pepperoni, it's a pimple. And he goes, oh, that's really big. So I'm like, yeah, it is. Where are your parents? Because when an older person insults you, you can fight back. But with a little kid, what am I supposed to say? You can't read? Of course he can't read, he's 4! So now anytime a little kid looks in my general direction, this is what I do. I'm just gonna run away from them every time now. I can't take any more ego hits.